Hey again, Year 12. Thank you for listening to these YouTube clips, and I hope that you're finding them useful. We've been looking at the operations business function. It's a vital core part of any business, and we've been looking at the influences of operations previously. Today we're going to take a look at the process of operations. It's vital because operations is that business function that creates the products, that turns the inputs into an output through either being goods or services, or a bit of both. We're going to be looking at the processes, and these are the set of steps that an operations manager or workers go through to turn that set of, or those set of inputs into outputs for the business. We're going to be looking at under processes. If you're looking at your syllabus dot points, you should be taking a look at operations as the business function. Then you need to be looking at processes. Under that you have inputs. Now there's two types of inputs that we see. The first ones are called transformed resources. The second of these inputs, and inputs again are things that go into the creation of the product, whether that be a good or a service. The second part of those inputs are transforming resources. And I want you to think of the term transformed, the ED. They're changed in some way. They're manipulated. They're transformed, again, ED. Look at the spelling of that. And the transforming resources, we call those the agents of change. They're the parts of the business, the operations function, whether that be the labour, the workers, or the capital, the machinery, that does the changing. They're the transforming resources. And those two inputs are what are used to be able to change and transform the product from those inputs through to the outputs. Now there's three parts of inputs in terms of the transformed processes. And again, they're the materials that go into the creation of the product. You have firstly raw materials, sometimes called just materials. They're the easy ones. If you're manufacturing a good, if you're thinking about this high quality shirt I've got here, that's all the material, the cotton, the buttons, the stitching and so on that goes into the product. It's changed in some way by those transforming resources. The second part of the transform resources is the information. So if we're talking about this shirt, there's a set of instructions that you need to follow. Or if you're thinking about a service, such as teaching, we have the information, which is the textbooks, the university courses that we've been on, that further development we've done to be able to put all that together for you. And that's the information. The final part of the transform resource is the things that again that goes into the product is the customers. One of the main things, or a good example to use, are hairdressers. Customers turn up to the hairdresser and they bring with them not the cotton, not the stitching, but they bring with them the hair. Now I know that we joke about my hair and it's receding a little, but they bring that along with them. And the hairdresser, the barber, they're able to use that raw material, the hair, to be able to deliver the service, which is the haircut. So that's the first part of those those inputs that go into the transformation process. They get changed in some way. In terms of the transforming resources, remember I said to think about the ing at the end. They don't actually go into the product, they're not an input, they do the manipulating, they do the changing. That's why they're called transforming resources. There's two key parts to that. One is HR, and this is where it ties in with human resources, that interdependence business part of the operations function. And also we have facilities, which includes things like the machinery to create the products or the building, the factory that it's in. Again, if you think about any product that's made, say pancakes, there are people that are producing those pancakes. That's the HR. They do the manipulating, they do the changing. It'll be a little bit of a worry if part of the finger of the chef or the person making the pancake went into what you're buying. That wouldn't be ideal. In terms of the facilities, again, as part of that transforming resource that's manipulating or changing the transform resource, you find that that's the equipment. So the fry pan if you're making pancakes, or the shop, the factory, they're all part of the facilities. So the transformed ED resource and the transforming resource, those two inputs together is the first part of the operations process. Combined, they're either the inputs that go into it or the mechanisms of change. They turn these inputs into outputs. This entire process is known as the transformation process. Please make sure that you've taken a look at this YouTube clip before you come to class. And again, if you're struggling with some of the content we're going through, you can use this as a resource tool to review. Any questions, ask me on Slack. Again, thanks Year 12.